What's up, my friends out in the World Wide Web? My name is Jesse, and today we're talking about one formula to rule them all. Are you a YouTuber? If you are a small-time YouTuber, leave a comment below, and we will get talking. Maybe we can do some kind of collab, or I don't know, just start networking. So leave a comment if you're a small-time YouTuber and want to network. All right, so you know how I've been using the Aristotle's elements of drama to rate movies and books and stuff? Well, it turns out that's not how movies and books work. I mean, I personally think that's how that should work, but what sells and what should be are two different things. So you have Aristotle's elements of drama shown here, and then you have this list. Well, to explain this, I found this in a book called Introduction to Media Literacy, where I explained how these are what sells. So first off, you got 30% action. Then you got 17% comedy, 13% good versus evil, 12% love and romance, 10% special effects, 10% plot, and 8% music. When I saw this list, I was kind of confused. I'm like, well, what qualifies as action? And upon further research, there's actually not that much. So what happened was, Sue Clayton, a professor in London, she went through and rated and watched frame by frame what was taking up the screen. And so she broke them into these categories, and that's how she rated it. 30% of the time, the best sellers had action. That was the formula. So you have all this breakdown here, and I think it's kind of weird because, okay, for instance, you have action, which is, I'm not exactly sure if it translates into Aristotle's elements of drama at all. But you have comedy. I'd say that's either character or spectacle. You have good versus evil, which I'd say is probably theme. Love and romance, spectacle, maybe character. Special effects, spectacle. Plot is plot. And finally, music converts to music and rhythm. So you're kind of missing some of the Aristotle's elements of drama when you pick up this, because you're not even getting any dialogue. I mean, I'm not sure how they brought that up. I mean, maybe it's under comedy. Seems like a lot of there has to do with spectacle. So according to these criteria, apparently Titanic and Toy Story 2 are perfect movies. But for me, that just seems weird. What do you think? I just think it's kind of sad that instead of this, like the valuable stuff, you have this. And you have plot as only 10% of it. And comedy and action are the most important things in a story. But I'm not an expert. What do you think? So this criteria is what helps a movie get to the right formula to be successful. But it's not to say that if you follow this, it's going to be a good movie. I just think that this formula is a little off. The action, I'm not sure how they're defining action, because the article that I found this in, like the reference in the book, is not very specific. They qualified it as action. For instance, in Titanic, when the iceberg hit the boat, she qualifies that as good versus evil, where I wouldn't qualify that as good versus evil. I qualify that as action, because I wouldn't say that's a good versus evil, because an iceberg is not evil. It just is. I mean, why would you qualify an iceberg as evil? I mean, iceberg has no ill intent. Who was evil was the planner, the engineer guy. Yeah, that was the bad guy. He was so arrogant that he said God couldn't sink the boat. Well, that's what God did, unfortunately, for those poor people. Yeah, so I don't know that qualifies as good versus evil. So is it really a perfect movie? I mean, according to this criteria, maybe not. I mean, it's a good movie. What I thought was sad about this list was that plot, only 10% of plot. And Aristotle's elements of drama, that's like the most important thing. Without a plot, you got nothing. And this criteria, you only have 10% of the plot. Like, I bet Transformers is like 1%. Fun fact, I think Transformers was actually specifically designed so you would not remember the plot. Shows you how great that story is, and I think it worked. Do you remember the plot of Transformers? Now, don't go and watch it. Just comment if you do. Another thing I thought was interesting was the comedy. Now, I think comedy is something we really look over. So look at the MCU, for instance, especially the Thor movies. The first 2 Thor movies were not as funny, and they didn't do as well in the box office. But then you got Thor Ragnarok, which was funny, and people loved it. So you have that comical relief that people love, and I think this day and age, we really like that. I mean, I think it's interesting that maybe like older superhero movies are a little bit more serious, like the X-Men, for instance. But more recently, the best superhero movies have been comical. We love our laughs. So it's just interesting how as time moves, our perspective changes and our preferences change. We used to love the nitty-gritty superhero. Now we're really liking the fun-loving and the comical hero. I look at Ant-Man and Thor now, and like these heroes that are funny that we love. Now, where do you think the superheroes are going next? Leave a comment. Anyway, that's it from me today, and be sure to like, comment, and share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Remember, it's not what you watch, but how you watch it that makes you a scholar.